Hi. In this episode, I will go back to the spring semester 1973 when I had to decide on my master's thesis topic as well as the supervisor. As a matter of practice, all the students, international students who enroll for a PhD program in most of the universities will be required to write a master's thesis to prove or improve their skills in writing in English language, a monograph which will be accepted as a master's thesis by the adjudicators. In other words, once this master's thesis is done, the faculty council will think that the student is capable of expressing everything in English language. In other words, they will be at par with those American students or those students who have the first language as English. So then I spoke to Professor Miriam about the thesis I would want to work on. Then he suggested there is a reason also, because the name Daniel Miriam came to my mind only through M.A. Ramanava, who was a guest in the University of Kerala in the 1970s, I will say summer. And also my visit to IIT-K to attend a computer applications spring workshop in 1970. And of course this workshop did not happen, but my exposure or my love, let us say, for computer, quantitative geology sprouted there. So then Dr. Miriam told, okay, back to my thesis. Miriam told me that, hey Vic, you go and read this book, and gave me a book, a monograph authored by Miriam on the geology of the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas is one of the, not a very large state. The specialty is that it is little over 200,000 square kilometers in size, roughly shaped like a postcard. And one of those states where somewhere between 700 to 800 oil, gas, or water wells have been drilled. And Dr. Miriam, when he was the chief of geology in the Kansas Geological Survey, had interpreted the borehole log into what is called lithological logs, and also by hand created what is called isopac maps as well as structure contour maps. So that's what the book is all about. The Kansas Geology book is all about this. And all the data regarding the spatial data regarding the well location was based on a scheme that was in vogue in the United States land survey system, which is called section, township, and range. Section is the smallest unit. It is only 1 square square mile in extent, or 640 acres in the, and then of course there's section, township and range. So this is every well, every location is related to some kind of a measure of which section it occurs. That is the meaning. So then, after reading all this, I went and told Dr. Mariam that, how do we get the data? Well, don't worry about it, data will come to you. You talk to Ghanshyam Srivastava was a research assistant in maintaining the computer programs like principal component analysis, factor analysis, discriminant functions, trend surface analysis, cluster analysis, spline, and Fourier analysis. All these software programs were implemented in the Syracuse University computer system, and anybody who is using this will have to go to Ghanshyam to get the preliminaries to run their data with those programs. So I too went and spoke to Ghan. Ghan said, what to do is wait for some more time, and then he gave me some reading material on the trend surface analysis. Well, trend surface analysis is actually a regression in 2 dimensions. In other words, a spatial regression analysis. Well, linear regression is actually along the x and y. Here you have an x1 and x2 and then a y value. In other words, there is a location and a reading, a numerical value for some attribute for that location. So then of course, the parallelly I had a load of courses like 12 credits being a full-time student on a scholarship. If I were on a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, my credit load would be only 9 hours. So, we were going through the post mid-semester, and I was kind of busy with the preparations in learning process, as well as fulfilling all the assignments correctly to the concerned teachers. And finally, anyway, at the end of the semester, spring semester, that is by last working day of April, I had done all my courses, final exams. And also, one advantage is within 3 days of the final day of classes, that is April 30th, that is by May 3rd or 4th, the concerned teachers will post the grade in the bulletin board for the different courses, but the names of the students will not be displayed there, and all the grades will be posted against what is called a social security number, which is something like our modern Aadhaar. Anyway, I had scored all A's in all the 4 courses, and then I had the summer ahead of me, 4 months, that is May, June, July, August. And I was wondering what I should do. Then I spoke to Ghan, and then I spoke to Sapangosh, and I knew Dr. Dean also. So I went and spoke to Dr. Dean about a course, an independent study I might go for during the summer. And Dean had data about the Erie Lake, and along one transect, so he had a data set on what is called Nansen model data, that is depth and temperature, depth and chemistry, and such very useful data, but on the vertical plane, let us say vertical plane along the a transect in the lake water. So Dean wanted me to do a trend analysis on that and figure out, how the parameters behaved, and in other words, how temperature varied from surface to bottom, how chemical ions varied, if at all, from top to bottom, etc., etc. In other words, the intention was to figure out whether the stratification in the lake will be reflected in the analytical, in the analysis, in the results. So I said I will register for this course, and of course, then Ghanshyam, what happens is, Ghanshyam decided to go home to India in Lucknow. So I had no immediate help. Walter Dean also was almost practically all the faculty goes away, either for research, for pursuits, or for some personal issues, personal matter. And in summertime, like all over the United States, summertime you don't get paid when you are in a school or in a college faculty. But of course, you will get your pay divided into 12 equal installments or 24 equal installments, and a check will go to your mailbox. And students, of course, on the other hand, my scholarship was covering my summer also. So I registered and I started working on it. Then what happened was, I had a spark in my mind. Why should I stay here in Syracuse when I have no faculty support and also no assistance or help from Ghanshyam? Nobody else is well versed with the so-called computer applications stuff. And Dr. Miriam, of course, he comes infrequently to the department, chairman, and it is unfair, now to go to your supervisor and ask for help, being a busy person, as well as he is also enjoying the vacation. So what else had happened in Syracuse was, on one of those spring days, I met one Punalur man who is settled in the Syracuse town and in the Ostrom Avenue in a home, by name Dr. T.E. Koshi. He was a chaplain appointed by the university, and he very warmly welcomed me and invited me to his home, and I said, we will meet sometime. And no, he told me, you come along with me to our home. Anyway, today is a holiday, only it is a Sunday, let us go and eat some Kerala food. That's what the offer was. Well, of course, when it comes to food, I will always nod yes. Then what happened? T.E. Koshi, or Dr. T.E. Koshi, a PhD in communications from the Newhouse School of Communications in the Syracuse University, is also a chaplain and an evangelical priest. So every Sunday there is a congregation that meets in his home. And of course, his wife is an ophthalmologist working in the Upstate Medical Center and hailing from Hyderabad. And of course, he has 2 children, etc. So Koshi wanted me to be there with his congregation on all these Sundays, so that I will be part of the congregation and also I will get fed. So most of the times I went over to Koshis for these special sessions. So then Koshi was asking me, in the month of May, early part of May, what are you doing now? I said, I have registered for an independent study. Okay, fine. Then are you comfortable otherwise? I said, yes. Then one morning when I woke up, I had a spark in my mind which prompted me to explore the possibility of going back to India. because I had about $600 of savings in the Marine Midland Bank. And I just got dressed up. Instead of going over to the department, I went over to Koshi and asked what would be the cost of a ticket to New York, New Delhi and back. And how is it possible to get a ticket? How do I go about it? Koshi said, no problem. I will arrange a ticket for you. He arranged a ticket. And then he immediately called his friend down somewhere in New York City and asked for a ticket. And what is the cost of ticket? You know the cost of what the cost was? $420 for a return ticket. JFK in New York to New Delhi, Palam and back. And then I said, well, buy a ticket for me. Then he asked, do you have money? I said, of course I have money. Then he said, let us meet two more days hence and meet me the day after tomorrow. I will get the ticket. And then the ticket came down. I went to Koshi and collected the ticket, which was actually marked or written. Price was written as $650. But of course, this is the way the airline tickets are sold through agents and sub-agents. Anyway, that is not a matter of a great issue here. Anyway, so I went straight after collecting the ticket and paying the cash money in a check, as a check. I went over to the office of Heroy Lab and Mrs. O'Brien was there. I told her I would like to go home for summer. Then she said, oh, fantastic. Then I said, I would like to drop that course, independent study. She said, absolutely no problem. She will do that necessary paperwork. And then another thing I had to do was, I had to inform the Institute of International Education about my departure. I had a multiple entry visa, so therefore there was no problem. I was on a H-1B visa and a multiple entry thing. So I just got ready to go home. My ticket was to start off from JFK on the 30th of May. So I purchased a new suitcase. I had something like 4 rolls of color negative films. Because I had a brand new camera, I wanted to take click of pictures in India. So then some blank cassette tapes, etc. And then started off by a bus from Syracuse, Greyhound only, and went to the Port Authority. From the Port Authority, I caught another bus and headed to JFK Airport, and then checked in and so on and so forth. But then when we started off from, the flight goes via London. When we took off from London, there was an announcement that there will be a delay in Frankfurt. And because of some problem with the machine aircraft. This aircraft is actually a fantastic thing. What is called a jumbo jet 747. It is called, there are two, the plane will go, taking off from JFK, lands in London, then in Frankfurt, then in Delhi, then in Singapore, then in Tokyo, and then back to San Francisco, which is called, that flight is called New JFK to Tokyo and around the world. So anyway, when we landed in Frankfurt, I noticed another huge aircraft parked near our aircraft where it was parked. We were required to take all our belongings and get out of the aircraft, and at the gate we were given a food coupon because there will be some 2 hours of delay because they have to transfer all the luggage into the new machine aircraft. So, well, fine, ate something from far of the lunch, and 2 hours went very quickly. Anyway, went off very quickly. Frankfurt International Airport is a fantastic place because this is the airport. This is the airport runway is actually built on the, what is called the standoff between the Soviet bloc and NATO when there was what is called the Berlin Airlift. In other words, this Autobahn, which is the runway in Frankfurt Airport, that was The Autobahn was used for taking off and landing of a passenger aircraft during the Berlin dispute. In other words, all the Americans had to, or the NATO people have to be flown out of that area. So that is called the Berlin Airlift. And when I came to Delhi, the new carrier, and one of the things I was told by the the cabin crew was, and the cabin crew was very curiously looking through the window glass of the aircraft. Then I was also curious. We were approaching New Delhi. The seatbelt on sign was on. Anyway, I also went over to them and asked what is happening. You know what happened? Then one of the girls told that this is where yesterday, that is on the May 30th, a Indian Airlines plane crashed and killed all the passengers and crew. Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam, a minister in the central cabinet, died there. Also, another man, one Verma, who is the brother or cousin of Colonel Goda Verma, was commanding the flight. So, of course, within seconds, we passed over that accident site and landed in the Palam airport in India. Well, what I did in Delhi, I will narrate in the next episode.